This is a renovation budget, not a rebuild budget. Last October, at the last budget, we were talking about all this stimulus that was going to be temporary, targeted and timely. We're not talking about that type of spending anymore. This budget has really been about fixing the cracks in the walls of the Australian economy and Australian society. We've seen spending on a whole lot of problems that needed to be addressed. We've got new infrastructure spend to keep the country moving. We've got more spending on aged care. Coming out of the Royal Commission, there had to be reform in that space. We see additional spending on childcare, getting women back into the work and raising the workforce participation rate for women. Fundamentally important in growing an economy when the borders have been closed. And I think quite importantly, we've seen a real emphasis on resilience. Resilience from an environmental perspective, dealing with floods, bushfires and other forms of climate change, but also business resilience and personal resilience from a mental health perspective. These are all really important things, but they're not necessarily big drivers of GDP growth, of growing our income. We need to grow the economy faster so that we can pay for the range of social measures that we want to have, and so we're not putting a debt burden on future generations. We don't really see that real growth kick in this budget, but there are pointers to where we need to go, and some really important ones. I think the digitisation measures that the governments have announced has really shown that we can focus on transforming government and bringing business along with it, and also the deregulation agenda, taking the handbrake off and getting rid of unnecessary or inefficient regulations. But we see that there's probably more to do, and what we really want to see is more structural reform. Tax reform is the obvious example that we've been talking about. There's only so many times that you can patch the current system and hope that it's going to keep working. At some stage, we need to do a tear down and rebuild. We can't just do a renovation.